bass.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy.
To me,
Yeah.
though, Honey is the pinnacle of the Ohio Players album wise. I don't know how you feel about that. Fire was really fantastic too, but I just think Honey
to me is probably my favorite Ohio Players album. Although I did like the several tunes that we did on the Aerosmith. Did like several tunes. I love the tune Sometimes I Cry with Sugar and I and David wrote. I love that song because I said, "Oh, Stevie did a country and western. Why can't I?" You know. So, but in terms of that period in time, Honey would be my favorite album.
Is it possible for you to pick 2 to 3 maybe of your favorite Ohio Players tracks that you were part of?
Well, one that I really loved, you'd have to go back to Westbound years. I loved our take on the blues, which we called the Reds. I loved that song. Never got tired of playing it because everybody got to jam on that song when we were doing it live. So I love the Reds. Oh, geez. I really liked Fire. I love Sweet Sticky Thing. I thought Satch did an incredible job on that song. Yeah. I had a divorce during the Westbound years, and I wrote that song, "Oh Girl, You Ain't Going Nowhere, Put That Suitcase Down." I can remember writing that and Sugar saying, "That's a great lyric." Yeah. Yeah. Specifically, I really can't say what would be my favorite songs. I have a lot of favorite Ohio Players songs.
You just name like 4 of them. Is there a particular horn part that you felt like really proud of, or you're like, yeah, that's...
No, basically, I thought most of the work, I was proud of happy with most of the stuff, except on Ohio. You know, I was, as I said, one song I did not like that we put out there, but wasn't for me to choose. I didn't really have parts that I really thought of like that, because the one thing about the band, every song, we never played the song the same way. We go to work to play and we play it a different way. We play different parts in it. You start off playing. It's like the boys now, and I listen to stuff that they do now, and occasionally my wife will play stuff, and I'm listening to stuff, and I'll say, boy, they've changed that all around. But that was how the players did. They changed everything all around. So you would know some part, and it would be like if I picked up my horn right now, half of the songs I can play still to this day. It's just I got the air leak in my mouth.
One of the many fantastic things about the group to me is just how you guys couldn't be put in a box. You didn't stick to a formula in my mind. A lot of the songs took chances. Like songs I'm thinking of like Body Vibes and Far East Mississippi and I Want to Be
Yep.
Free. I mean, they were different. You had parts in there that no one else was doing, and you throw this up against that.
Yes. Yeah. But some of those came from events like I Want to Be Free. See, that came from that event where I'm telling you I'm wanting to get away from this one woman in my life. So they're coming from events. We're telling the stories, and we were, as I said, we were always jamming. We were always doing different stuff on stage, and so as a result, we had a lot of stuff, a lot of mud that we could throw at the wall because we're playing it different every night. The arrangement's never the same. So it made it interesting. Creatively, from my viewpoint, was always a challenge. You're always coming up with something different. Sugar might he might change something right during the middle of a song and go into this blank, blank, blank riff kind of thing, and suddenly the whole feel of the song is changed, and you're following along with that, and then you got to think of a horn part you're going to be playing to that, and everybody just kind of looks down the line and okay, we're going that way. Look left because that's the way we're going right now with the song. And I always thought the band was good enough that it was capable of doing all of that stuff. Some bands they're too rigid. It's like classical players. They're the epitome of horn players, violin string players, and everything. Problem of it is they do the same thing, same way every night. They don't have that freedom to be creative every night. We had that freedom to be creative from what we were doing.
Did you prefer the studio or the stage?
I actually like both. I did quite a few studio sessions up at Paradigm. What was it? Paradigm recording studio. I couldn't record under my name, but I did a lot of studio work because Mercury wouldn't allow me to do that. But I would go over there and do a lot of horn sessions. I played on lots of horn session parts that came out of Chicago back in those days because I'm in town. I get a call and they'd say, "Do you want to play?" And I'd say, "Sure." You go over there, you pick up a couple $100 in cash. You're there for what? 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and you're just playing. And it was fun. So I would do it.
So you have uncredited appearances on records?
Oh, of course, everybody does. A lot of us do. Because we would just pop in and you'd go in there. I can remember one time we were down in LA recording. And in one studio, we're in LA recording. Elton's in another one room, Rod's in another room, You're talking to everybody, you're doing all of this stuff. And you set in on different sessions.
Is there any song in particular that like was a hit or something that you don't have credit on that you could identify?
I could, but I don't think that would be wise for me to say that I did that.
This many years later,
You know what? The old saying: loose lips can get you in trouble. You come back and bite you. I would prefer not. I get paid for them. I still collect royalties on those songs.
Okay, well that's the main thing, right?
Yes. And you don't want to. I don't want to say something on your show, Scott, that cuts something off.
What was the experience like for you when the band ended up going to, Arista was just one deal, one shot, one record, and then you were over on that Boardwalk, which was Neil Bogart's what Casablanca became, I believe, Boardwalk with Neil Bogart.
Yeah. It was trying times. The band had broke. A lot of friction in the band. Satch did some bad stuff, which contributed to the band fragmenting. Was very, very sad for us to find out about it. So I'll leave it at that. But that was a contributing factor to the band saying, boom, different ways and everything. And I became the leader during that period of time, the Bogart years. I got us the Bogart contract. I chased him down all the way to Honolulu to get that contract, with the band saying, you need to get on an airplane and come home. And I said, I'm not coming home without a contract. So that was a trying period for the band, but it wasn't the same band then. By the time we moved to Arista, that was a one-off deal, and I think that deal was so that he could get Arista Records, so that he could put together the Arista Records deal. He needed to have a certain number of artists on there, and we were one that he packed in there to get his record deal. I've heard a lot of things about it, but probably a lot of it is hearsay, and I just don't want to travel down that road.
I know the members were changing and there was a friction and all that, but in terms of like the sound and musical decisions, who was sort of guiding that at that point? Because the sound really, changed, and you did some cover tunes and kind of were going in a different direction.
I think we were lost at that point in time. We weren't the same band. The core of the band the Musketeers had fragmented. We didn't have all the Musketeers at that point in time. We had lost Diamond. We had lost Satch. I had to get new rhythm players, so I got Jimmy and Vinny out of Lubbock, Texas. I can't even remember where I found David, the piano player, and we were trying to put together stuff. We even tried working with different producers. Wasn't the same.
Richard Dipples Field was a
didn't like Richard Dimples Fields. He was a bit of we didn't like it. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. Wasn't what it was supposed to be, didn't come out the way it was supposed to come out. And as I said earlier, the sound that made you is now the sound that is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. So we would have had to reinvent ourselves again. Had we had the core, we would have easily been able to reinvent ourselves. The core group had to remain the core group. I think Ohio players would have been able to pull off more hits, because that was the group that experimented. That was the group that worked out everything live out on the road, that then came in, so we knew when it was time to go in and cut an album, because we were playing all the time. We were one of the hardest working bands that was out there. People say, well, did you take time off? What time off? I'm working. There's 52 weeks in the year. I'm working 49 of them. So it was just constant. And if the core had stayed together and strong, I believe it would have made more records. It would have changed up again, just like it made the change in sound it was a big change in sound from Westbound years to the Mercury phonogram years. They would have stepped up and made the next change in sound.
I sure would have liked to have seen him get the chance.
Yes,
You
I
know,
would have too.
and it was such a turbulent time in the music business anyway, right then, because disco had a backlash and 80s
Yep.
corporate sound business came in, and the corporate sound and the whole record industry changed, and it was a mess of things going on. That was part of what you guys got swept up into, I think.
Yes, yeah. As you know, it's always changing. You look at it now. You look at what's happened with rap and how it's moved and how it's progressed and everything that's happened to it. But the one good thing about it is they sample so much crap that we get paid for all of that sampling still.
How what were your thoughts after Ouch, I think was your last record in 82, and then you what did you do from the early 80s until the early 90s?
Well, from the let's see, I think I left the band in about 85. I went back to school. And then I came to Australia, and I started a couple of projects. I worked for a couple of companies down here, and then I branched out on my own, and I started a company that was involved in golf because I played golf, and I supplied in-cart GPS to tell a golfer how far he was hitting a shot or how far it was to the green. I made GPS Industries, and we did that for Easy Go golf carts and Yamaha golf carts. Down here, I was the largest. I was the largest manufacturer of that kind of equipment for golf. But like anything now, you know, you had the GPS in your car and you had to pay for it once upon a time. Well, telephone came along and it put Google put GPS on that. Such was the same thing. The manufacturer saw the how much it cost to make it, and they eventually decided, oh, we'll start to make this ourselves. So I had a good run in it, and I sold the company to a Canadian company. Sold the rights to a Canadian company about 3-4 years ago.
Oh, so are you
And
do you consider yourself retired now, or are you still doing some stuff?
I consider myself to be retired. I do. I say to everybody, I'm retired, and everybody says, "Well, how do you live?" And I said, "Well, it's funny about that." I said, "I had another life once upon a time," and I said that life is still very good to me. Thanks to all of the fans that continue to buy music and support our albums and getting played somewhere, as my ex-lawyer who's passed away said to me, somewhere in the world, every minute someone's playing one of your songs somewhere.
No
And
doubt.
that's about the truth. You know, I look on there and it'll say, oh, you collected a penny in Zimbabwe on a royalty. It got what got played. Some obscure song got played. But those pennies all add up.
Or somebody might sample one. Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I get lots of samples. Or you got the chef on the Hell's Kitchen or whatever, using fire as part of his intro all the time for years.
It was
So,
in
you
it was in at least one TV commercial I remember too.
know,
Yeah.
it's been more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that all contributes to keeping me alive, paying my bills.
There's so much great music and specifically funk that came out of that area of Dayton, that's talked about now a lot in retrospect. that all these groups came up. Did you, as being part of the Ohio Players, did you feel sort of like big brothers at all to like all those other groups and acts that came out of there? I know Pee Wee actually was related to one of the guys in Slave, but
Yes.
did you guys feel like a brotherhood like that at all, or did you see him as like competitive, or what was the mindset?
No. Let's see what we did production for a couple of groups, Slave, Cameo,
Well, Phaso
I
was
think
a Satch project, I know.
Phaso. Yeah, that was Satch. And I never looked at them like that. They were trying to make it, and we had already stepped up to that level. So you didn't regard it as that. And there were, as you're aware, there are all the eras that came along in music. In the 50s, the birth of rock and roll started, and really, really developed in the 60s. And then the funk bands started coming along. Sly, I would regard as being really the first funk band that came along. I would regard him as the first. Started to come along, and that was late 60s. That started to develop. And that was a decade of music before disco started creeping in there, and it crept in there and it started changing again. But like McCartney says, every 12 years they revert back, because every note and every riff that you can imagine has already been played, So what do? They go back and they learn. I'm looking at I was looking on. I'm looking on YouTube the other day, and I see this little girl playing bass called Ellen Can Play Bass, and I'm like, look at this. But what is she playing? She's going back, learning all these old songs, Peter Gabriel's song, a Bootsy Collins song, and I'm thinking, yeah, McCartney's right. Every 12 years, and every 12 years, what I've noticed, because I've collected royalties for a long time, is that every 12 years, it's like a big incremental increase in your royalty rate, because you got all of these people buying all the old stuff again. They're learning all the old stuff. That might change. Well, no doubt it will change because of YouTube, but YouTube's paying better rates now. It's just like once upon a time we sued to get a higher royalty rate for all the musicians. And that's changed again. That'll change again now, because now digital rights is changing, and they're having to pay a little bit more to use this stuff that they're using up. There's not a day that goes by that something from Ohio Players is not played on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
So the Ohio Players are so ubiquitous, and their influence is so monumental, and the legacy endures. Do you feel that the band is getting the credit and attention it deserves? And I'm one of the people that's been vocal for the Ohio Players getting to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And how do you feel about that?
Thank you. Thank you. I think we should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How can you sell? I can remember Linda Minch, the great Chicago entertainment lawyer and my lawyer for many, many years, saying once to me, she said, you guys have sold 50 million records. How can I sell 50 million records and not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How can I be part of the foundation of the funk genre and not be there? I would like to have been part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but for whatever the reason, we're not.
It's not right. It's got to, while some of the original members or the members that have been, part of the group for so long are still with us. Let's make it happen is what I'm saying.
Yes, let's see who's left that's alive. From the original members, there's only Diamond, Beck, and me. We're the only ones left. Chet, because you'd have to throw Chet in there because Chet played. He came in on the Mercury years while we were at Phonogram. Came in, I think, third album or fourth album there. I can't quite recall the exact date.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio players aren't the only ones. There's also overlooking, groups like War and
Yes.
Kool and the Gang may get in this year, but right now they're not. But also possibly the Commodores and but the Ohio players are right at the top of that list for me.
Yep.
And I want to see it happen. I don't know why it hasn't happened. You guys had a lot of rock in your funk too, so
Yep.
it's not like you were strictly funk. There's a lot of rock, especially some of the stuff on the Fire album and just the attitude. And you brought jazz in there, you brought funk in there, you had rock in there.
Yeah. It's a political thing, as you know. It has to be. But I was hoping that I would get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know that we are in the Black Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Black Rock and Roll Fame. I didn't come back for that. Diamond told me about that. But I would definitely come back if we made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'd show up for that.
Yeah. Do you make it to the States very often?
I would make it. Do I make it? I haven't been back in 2 years. 3 years now. I haven't been back.
So what drew you originally though to Australia? Was it a business opportunity or a woman, or what was it?
My wife is Australian.
Okay.
Yes, my wife and I met in my first trip, the band's first trip to London, England. I would meet my wife. She was performing on stage in Piccadilly Circus. I had never been to Piccadilly Circus, and I can remember we were brought there to meet the brothers, the Phillips brothers, because they owned Mercury Records, who invited us to this huge lunch in Amsterdam. And we went to the lunch. They came out, they shook our hand, and they said, "Enjoy." And you're looking at a table that was about 20 foot long, set up as a big banquet thing. Only time I ever met them. And then we went to London, and they gave me a car to see the sights of London. So the chauffeur said, "Have you ever been?" I said, "I've never been to London." He said, "Just ride me until my ass gets tired." And I see this big poster of her on his theater. She's performing there. I said, "Stop the car." Stop the car and go in. I meet my wife.
Wow. How many years ago was that?
That would have been 1970. What year did the first Skin Tight come out? 74, 73?
74. Yeah.
Okay, so I would have met her in 75. So here she is talking about, "Oh, you can get gone, Buster. You can go. I'm going to be busy. I'm trying to get a date with her. I'm going to be busy. There's this incredible band playing at the Hammersmith Odeon, and all the tickets are gone." I said, "Really? When is that?" She says, "That's where I'm going to be." "Well, I might be able to arrange some tickets for you to go." "I'll need 2 tickets. My girlfriend will want to go with me." Little did she know, when she looked down on that stage, the guy twirling the microphone going poof was me.
Smooth, man. Wow.
Yeah, that
Nice.
was me meeting my wife.
That's a great story. Congratulations on, all that history together.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. So she's Australian, and she wanted to come back, raise our son down here. So we did. So that's why I'm a oi, oi, oi. Good day.
Back in that era, was there someone that you saw perform on stage? Maybe you shared a bill with them, or maybe you checked him out. Was there someone in particular back then that just blew your mind as a performer?
I can tell you, Gladys used to blow my mind. Marvin, okay, used to blow my mind. I used to like Gladys because playing cards. And when Gladys came down here a couple of years ago, here I'm sitting down front, and Gladys says, "Is that you, Merv?" I said, "It's me, girlfriend." She's playing at. She was playing a moderate sized hotel room, and we went to the concert, and we went with some friends. And I had never said to the friends that I played in a band. That I you know, I just I just don't tell a lot of people. And they said, "How do you know Gladys Knight?" And she starts to tell the story how we knew each other on the stage, and they were shocked.
Wow. I was going to ask you if there was somebody that you had met, that was just like a sort of a thrill for you, meeting a hero of some kind.
I've met so many people, and I tell people like that. Tell the people like that. You know, you name when you're at the level where we were in the music industry, you meet them all. You're passing, you're working, you're crossing over. You meet them all, and so if you can think about them, I met them.
Yeah, I wanted to mention also, we talked about the Ohio players not getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I think also Sugarfoot gets overlooked quite a bit, and I think he's one of the most important and influential lead guys that there's been in any of the bands.
Of all time, without a doubt. Sugar was an incredible talent. I mean, he's one of the best guitar players that came down the pike. The vocalization where he would do the solo and stuff. Think how many people have copied that, where he'd be vocalizing and da 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 and playing it at the same time. Sugar started that. They so many little things that we did. They're not taken account for. We haven't gotten the credit that I think as a unit, as a band, uh, we should have gotten credit.
What could you tell people about what Sugar was like, off stage? What kind of guy was he?
Weird. Sugar was one of my best friends. Weird. He was into anything, everything. Zen master. Uh, he went down a lot of rabbit holes, I can tell you. You know, um, his personal life, it was unique. Sugar was a unique guy, very unique guy.
Eccentric genius type?
Exactly. That would be, yeah, eccentric genius. He was truly talented.
Hmm. Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are there any songs that we didn't mention, Merv, that you think are something special that are kind of overlooked in the catalog that you think people maybe want to go back and pay a little more attention to it?
When I look at my semi-annual royalty statement that comes in, I am surprised by the airplay that most of the songs get. I mean, Fire stands out. as getting like the number one amount of plays, the number one revenue generator, fire, skin tight, those. But all of them seem to get played. All the songs seem to get airplay. And I think everyone that is into the band or into what we created, I think they all realize, and I think they take the time to sit down and listen to it. Because when you listen to one of our albums, or especially the earlier albums, it's like we're taking you on a journey. you know, we are taking you on a journey. It's not a 1 minute, 3 minute song. You know, we're taking you on a musical journey as to how we thought about that piece of music when we put it together at that period of time.
Fire and Honey were sort of like theme albums too, even with all the, you know, heat references on Fire and the sweet sticky thing and Honey on that one. And
they were when you think about how, when I think about how we put those albums together, it really is incredible, because we were making a theme before theme albums actually came about. We were making a theme then, so it's all part of that. It's another little cog in the wheel that Ohio players created when we were doing this.
And, you know, just the more we're talking, the more I'm thinking about, you know, the credibility for the Hall of Fame, because so many rock bands have even done cover versions of Ohio Players songs. You know, Red Hot Chili Peppers did Love Rollercoaster, and Soundgarden did Fopp, and, you know, and on and on.
Soundgarden, Fopp was a big hit down here because of Soundgarden. Soundgarden's an Australian band. So, you know, I look at that and I hear Fopp on the radio down here quite often, because they'll play it on the hit rock stations down here, like Kiss or something like that. They'll play it on those stations. There's quite a few stations down here that play that kind of stuff. And there's occasionally I hear our stuff on it because of that. And I've done several, probably half a dozen interviews down here, talking with DJs and things about all of the stuff that we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Fopp is one of my all-time favorites. I think that should have been a bigger hit too.
I love Fopp.
That should have been a bigger hit.
I love that.
When you guys,
you know what Fopp stands for.
it's either doing the nasty or dancing.
Is. Yeah.
It passed off as a dance, but yeah.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, I remember you guys had the locker dancers that would be in concert with you, and they would really, you know, go to town on Fopp, you know.
Yes. Yep. They were on when you mentioned Wolfman Jack's show, they were out there on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time, Fire was so incredible and such a hard funk song, but then Fopp was even harder sounding. You know, I was just amazed at the time, you know, what you guys were doing. But yeah. So, well, so what do you like to occupy yourself with nowadays, Merv, now that you're this man of leisure?
Well, I play golf, play a lot of competitive golf, trying to keep my health together and all of that stuff. So I play that. And every once in a while I'll do some volunteer work and stuff like that.
When did you first get into golf? Were you into it during the band's heyday?
I started playing golf while I was in the band, but during the phonogram years, I was a skier, did a lot of skiing, and played golf.
Were you the only one in the group that played golf, or did some of the other guys get out there?
Diamonds would eventually take up golf, and so would Chet. Chet would eventually take up golf. I was the only skier in the group. Myself and one of my road managers, we were skiers. So I would carry, it was not unusual to see me going to the Far East, Indonesia, Thailand, someplace like that. And here we're going over there to do a gig, Philippines. And here I've got skis on my back because I said, oh, I'm swinging through Germany. I'm going skiing in Germany somewhere before I come back home. So I did a lot of that stuff. I was always doing something athletic.
Yeah, golf I can relate to, but I've still never been on not snow skis. What?
See, I've never been on water ski.
I have a lake. I'm right by a lake here. So
yes.
What can you say about Junie? You talked a little bit about Sugarfoot. What was Junie like? He was eccentric too, right?
Yeah, Junie was eccentric too. Junie was extremely, extremely talented. I think he was married to Diamond's cousin or sister or something. There was a connection there. But Junie was very, very, very talented and bit demanding, especially if you made a mistake while you were on stage. Junie heard everything, so you couldn't miss something. But Diamonds and Junie were very close, like Sugar and I were very close at the time. But Junie was definitely very creative genius. And he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame through thanks to George Clinton and the boys.
Yeah, his second career with them.
Yeah.
Was it a friendly breakup, when he went his way and the band went their way, or was there some animosity or?
Yeah, it was a lot of animosity because, as I said, Armin thought Junie was the be end all for the group. He thought that Junie thought of everything and did everything and made the arrangements and did all that. Arrangements never came that way. As I said, we jammed when we went on stage. We never played the same song the same way. It was always a new twist to playing a song. Start off this way and end up another way.
I don't know if you're aware, Merv, but last year they unearthed a live album of Junie from like 1975, and what's surprising to me on that is he did Fopp in his own show without the Ohio Players.
And, he did Fopp.
He did Fopp in 1975 on his live show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Yeah, if there's a link and it's somewhere out on the web somewhere and you have a link of it, please send it to me. I'd love to see it.
I will. Now it's only audio, no video, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, he does like a medley of the Westbound, Ohio Player stuff, which you might expect. But then he throws out Fopp. I'm like, wait, he didn't have anything to do with Fopp, right?
No, he didn't. He just liked it.
I guess so.
Yeah, that was a good song. That was a fun song. Fopp was.
Yeah.
Fun song.
So. Well, I appreciate so much, Merv, all this time and recollections. And do you have any other, message you'd like to get out there to all the fans through all these years?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody and tell everybody that I'm really appreciative. I appreciate the fact that they continue to support the group, even though I'm not in the group any longer, and that they continue to support us by buying the albums and things. And I hope that I've given them all a bit of joy.
A lot of joy. I can tell you that for sure. And it's, joy that lives in perpetuity, out there for future generations. So thank you for that. And thank you for this time, Merv. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.